The news is live on Joy 99.7 and hits 103.9 FM in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions including Shine FM Akachi, Radio Max Takrady and Ridge in Tamale. Get radio, TV and online content on the myjoyonline.com interactive app for Android and iOS devices. Coming up, Shraj begins initial assessment of petition alleging corruption in illegal mining by top government officials to determine whether it's a matter that falls within its mandate.
We determine whether by an interim assessment or an initial assessment whether the allegations that have been made really trigger the mandates of the Commission.
There are lawyers for the MP who filed this petition believes there is enough basis for a full-scale probe.
In terms of a prima facie evidence pointing to specific allegations against certain people, I am very confident that we have really passed that threshold.
All 7 certified physician assistants arrested by police for protesting at the Ministry of Health premises continue to remain behind bars. Their colleagues say they will return for an even bigger protest.
We cannot give up. We are hoping that the police will release our leaders. And if they don't, we are actually going to gather and come back in all our numbers. This time round, we are coming massively.
And in business,
economist Professor Godfrey Bokwin questions the reliability of Bank of Ghana's data on the country's reserves following an IMF report indicating Ghana's reserves are almost empty. Details on the Joy Business Report.
And later in the bulletin, President Akufo-Addo calls for creative ways to deal with plastic menace as he insists an outright ban will not be feasible.
Because the outright ban we've seen in some parts that it has not actually worked so far. So that matter, the jury is still out for us on that bit.
I am Maame Esi Thompson. Stay for details. Shraj has commenced an initial assessment of a petition submitted by Member of Parliament for South Dai calling for an investigation into allegations of corruption against top government officials and allies involved in illegal mining. The petition was based on a 37-page document authored by the former chairman of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng. Here's the Commissioner of Shraj, Joseph Whittle.
The next steps will be to acknowledge it tomorrow, and then we'll determine whether by an interim assessment or an initial assessment whether the allegations that have been made really trigger the mandates of the Commission. It depends on what is in the petition and what has been attached as part of the documents which were brought in by the petition. After studying them, we may undertake a preliminary investigation.
In the meantime, the lawyer representing the MP, Roxy Nelson Dafiamakpo, lawyer Ni Bakpo Samwa Ado, argues that the report contains sufficient evidence to justify a full-scale investigation.
Oh, very much so. I mean, at the minimum, prima facie, you must establish the fact that there are allegations of corruption, abuse of public office, and human rights violations. If you look at the report, I'm sure you would not deny the fact that Professor Boateng has provided evidence. He doesn't even make speculation. He provided maps. He provided letters. And when certain people challenged him, he provided even more material. So in terms of a prima facie evidence pointing to specific allegations against certain people, I am very confident that we have really passed that threshold.
Now, the Ghana Small-Scale Miners Association share this view on the need for a probe and believes only this can win the trust of citizens in the fight against illegal mining. Francis Opoku is financial director.
It's high time, as Ghanaians, we interrogate these issues thoroughly and then come out with an acceptable solution to this problem. Numerous people alleged to be perpetrating or behind these happenings because of the issue raised against them is in connection with mining in the forest reserves. And this is where their influences are first more, the political influences. I call it political galvanizing.
The National Democratic Congress has meanwhile served notice of formally petitioning Parliament and the Office of the Special Prosecutor to initiate full-scale investigations into the Al Jazeera Gold Mafia documentary as it relates to the Ghana and the Galamsey report of Professor Boateng. Sami Jemfi is the National Communications Officer.
As a further step to back our demands, the NDC shall formally, in the coming days, submit a request to both the Clerk of Parliament and the Office of the Special Prosecutor to initiate the necessary investigations into the gold mafia documentary as it relates to Ghana and the Galamsey report of Professor Frimpong.
Now, all 7 certified physician assistants arrested by police for protesting at the Ministry of Health premises continue to remain behind bars. They were at the ministry to speak against their delayed postings after 5 years of finishing school. According to them, despite several engagements with the ministry, there appears to be no sign of commitment to get them employed, a reason for their picketing. But they were sacked from the premises of the ministry while their leaders were arrested by the police. One of their leaders who managed to escape, Bernice Obu, says the group will return for an even massive protest if the police fails to release them.
They've not been charged, and the police has not really communicated to us. So we called our association, and they went there together with the association's lawyer, trying to negotiate with the police to get them out.
Are you returning to picket, or you're giving up?
We cannot give up. We are hoping that the police will release our leaders, and if they don't, we are actually going to gather and come back in all our numbers. This time round, we are coming massively.
Well, we're getting an update on this arrest and also a statement from the Ghana Physician Assistants Association. My colleague Joseph Akable joins me in studio and with details. Now, Joseph, what's the update we are getting on this?
And so the update we can report for our listeners is that these individuals have been released on bail by the police, but the conditions require that they show up at the police station later today, and that will enable the police give them information on what happens next in terms of whether the charges will be formally brought against them in court or this will be the end of the matter. In terms of the statement that was released by the group, the mother body, it indicates that it supports the protest by the members and also raised issues about the arrest that was effected by the police, saying that even though they acknowledge the police were only performing their normal duties, they believe that they should not have arrested the leaders and that they should be released.
Thank you, Joseph. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health says it has challenges securing financial clearance to recruit. Spokesperson for the ministry, Isaac Ofeba, says the ministry is in talks with the Ministry of Finance and other relevant stakeholders to resolve that. He spoke to my colleague, Evans Mensa.
The Ministry of Finance or the Controller and Accountant General will not recognize them as working force members so that they can be paid at the end of every month.
So the challenge is we don't have the clearance.
And then they would also come back here to say that they have been working and then we are not paying them.
So the challenge is we don't have the clearance.
However, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Finance are in collaboration, or they are engaging to ensure that these people are given clearance so that the Ministry of Health can recruit them.
Okay, but you don't have a timeline that you can.
That is the only challenge that we are facing now.
Now, President Akufo-Addo is calling for more creative ways to deal with the plastic menace, insisting an outright ban may not be feasible. The debate about whether or not to ban plastic bags has been an age-old one, but a solution has yet to be found. Interacting with the visiting Director General of the World Trade Organization, President Akufo-Addo said his cabinet is even divided on it. He wants a more creative way to handle the matter.
The debate inside our government and inside the country as to exactly whether we find an intelligent way, quote, intelligent way of dealing with the plastics matter, or to go through for an outright ban. There's a lot of argument for the recirculation of the thing as being a more intelligent long-term solution to the plastic. Because the outright ban, we've seen in some parts, that it has not actually worked so far. So that matter, the jury is still out for us on that. But clearly, the need for us to do something is there.
Meanwhile, the livelihood of an estimated 12 million fishermen in Africa is at risk due to unregulated and unreported fishing activities, especially from China and other countries that have invaded African waters. The Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Okonjo Iweala, wants African countries to stand up to the invasion.
It is very important because 12 million people in Africa depend on fisheries. And some of the things we found out is that Africa is losing $2.3 billion from IUU fishing, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and $3 billion from overfishing and overcapacity. And those are, I would say, minimal estimates. So we're losing a lot of money by other people coming and fishing our waters. And there's nothing we can do. They're getting away with it. This agreement will enable us to first get them to phase out all those subsidies. The fishing would not be economic without the subsidies that the countries are giving.
And that was Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Okonjo Iweala. Now to Sudan. Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry says it has rescued 88 Ghanaians who were trapped in the raging conflict in the Sudanese capital of Khartoum. Heavy fighting continues in the city between two factions despite an announcement of a ceasefire. A statement from the ministry indicated that the mission in Khartoum and student leaders had successfully evacuated two batches of 50 and 27 Ghanaians from the capital. And that's all in this bulletin. In our top story ahead, Shraj begins initial assessment of petition alleging corruption in illegal mining by top government officials to determine whether it's a matter that falls within its mandate. I am Maame Esi Thompson. Thanks for listening.